Moving on from that stuff, I did want to talk a little bit about this early in the show because B Show and I have been watching a TV show that we're surprisingly excited about that actually Shah is connected to directly that we were unaware of when we were watching the show. And it's tied to a lot of stuff that a lot of people that listen to the show are familiar with. Netflix a couple weeks ago, well, a week ago maybe, launched the full series of a BBC sponsored show about OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, called Wrestlers. And it's available now on Netflix. It's 7 episodes, and it was shot last summer. It was following the local OVW, which is the home initially for WWE's development at a time where they may have produced 4 of their biggest stars, 3 of the biggest stars of all time. I'm talking about John Cena, I'm talking about Batista, I'm talking about Randy Orton, I'm talking about Brock Lesnar. That was their rookie class for Ruthless Aggression back in the day. And they long since cut ties with OVW. I actually thought it was not in existence, but Al Snow has been running it for a few years. It's owned by a couple of entrepreneurs there locally in the Lexington area, I guess, in Kentucky. And before we get to the something that's really cool, well, fuck it, let's just get right to it. I'm watching the show during the week, and Al Snow is a big part of the show. He runs the show, and he has an office in the studio in the OVW, and he has his home office, which is laden with comic book stuff, which looks amazing on camera. He's got great stuff. So in his office in OVW, which he's in half the show, he's got art of himself on the wall. And as I'm watching it, and as you can see, Shah, there's a picture next to the picture. Hopefully, we can blow this up.
It's blurred out here, but it's
yeah, I don't know why it's blurred out. I don't know. But long story short, Shah drew the fucking art that's on the wall that's in every episode. Like literally every episode, because they talk to him in his office in every episode. Now, Shah, can you give people a little background as to how you came about making that particular original piece for Al Snow?
Well, I had no idea this was a thing until Dirk. Shout out to Dirk. He sent me a screenshot of it, and I had done indirectly 4 signings with Al Snow. Like I had done like art for promoters to bring into the signing. So this happened to be one of them, and I guess they gave him a copy of it, and it was all over the place. So it's really cool. I didn't even know it was on Netflix. Like I thought it was like a YouTube fucking show or something.
No,
like, I didn't think it was like an actual
show. It's, when you see it, it's right off the bat. Before we get into the details of it, high budget. I mean, this is not a low budget show.
Yeah, very well done. I was surprised because it's OVW, it's small time indie fed, but no, really well done. Even some of the basic shots they would do, like when they follow people to their houses, just the way that they would somehow blur and the effects they would have on like the lens when the lights like would silhouette people.
Right.
Like even simple shots like that, just really, really stylistic and well done.
Yeah. And B, don't forget, I told Shah this, they use a lot of very famous songs in it. They must have paid a fortune to use these songs.
Yeah, what was the first one to open it up?
There's so many, honestly. There's all rock and roll. It's all like old school rock and roll songs, essentially.
Yeah, like Billy Squire type of stuff.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Now, Shah, I don't know. Shah, I know it's blurred, and for the life of me, I don't know why these posters are blurred. Shah, can you see the poster to the right of the one that you drew up? Because I feel like you may have drew the other one too, because it looks very similar.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that the same poster twice?
No, it's a different poster, and I think you drew that too.
I may have. Again, I did 4 different signings. Like I drew them 4 different times for different people.
Okay, so you could have 2 original pieces in every episode of a highly screened.
Possibly, yeah. One for sure. I can't see the other one. Yeah.
B-Show, you know what I'm talking about? The one to the right. It looks very similar in style.
I thought it was too. I thought I'd seen that on your site before, but I can't find your site. So
yeah. So Shah is connected to the show. He's yet to watch it. B-Show, have you finished the series?
Yeah, I finished it last night.
Okay.
I thought it was really cool, really well done. And not to be a fucking rube or anything, but it made me want to watch OVW.
Yeah.
It just like there was what was the guy? Cash Flow, the big older guy. Just
he seems like a good dude.
Seems like a good guy. Some characters you root for, some seem kind of shitty. Like the one girl, Haley J is going to be a star, but she reminds me of like a female Enzo.
100%, like oozing star quality.
Yeah. But it's like it just reminds me of people, and Shah might have more to add to this, but it reminds me of like when I've gone to indie shows with friends that I know that are either in the show or connected. It's the same type of thing. The weird family environment, like the circus, carnival type aspect, but like everyone's like there's infighting and drama, but everyone's all there to work together. And then you have like this. The promoter ended up seeming like a nicer guy in the end than in the beginning, but like just seemed like a slime ball. I'm going to tell you what to do. And Al Snow's just like, oh God, another one of these I got to deal with. Okay. But no, really cool. Told a nice story, and it made me want to watch OVW. So
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Chris Matthews and of course my brother Kevin Castle, who is also enjoying the show quite a bit. He's been talking it up. Shah, I have to tell you, because unlike you, you are way more connected industry wise than me and B are. Me and B are more like fan connected than, and you're more because you've worked directly with talent. You've been behind the scenes. You've done, promotions with talent. I've seen you show up to towns, my town, with talent. So you're way more connected to this than myself and B show. I honestly really want you to watch it because I want you to, for the personal reasons, to see your work in it, because that's got to feel fucking tremendous. But also, I want to know what you think of the vibe of the show. Having been more involved with talent than me. I mean, you've slept in hotels with wrestlers, not like sexually. You've actually just shared, and you might have banged a few wrestlers. I don't know. I don't know. You could have banged a few. I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, I never shared a room with Sonny.
Yeah, I would have. I would totally. I'm my prime, of course. But yeah, Shah, I mean, have you heard about the content of the show at all? Or are people just going, holy shit, your picture's in here?
Yeah, I actually didn't even know the show existed. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know OVW is still running. So I'm completely clueless to this. Because again, I've been out of touch with wrestling for so long. Now at this point, it's been what, like 4 years?
Wow. Jesus.
So
that long.
It's been a while. And
was the last thing you did the thing you did by me?
Yeah, that was
holy shit, dude. That was a while ago.
That was the last thing, yeah.
That was a while ago. Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about the talent with B.
No, actually, I'm sorry. That wasn't the last thing. The Briscoes thing was the last.
Briscoes all things. When you went to their house.
Yeah, Briscoes was the last thing.
Oh, God.
Jeez. And I think the same day we did Arn Anderson, maybe.
Okay, yeah, you did the thing online with Arn, right?
Yeah. I don't know if that was the same day, though. We did a lot over the COVID time because everything was over the internet, like the Facebook live auctions. But yeah, Briscoes was definitely the last one that I can remember.
Got to say shout out to my buddy Marquise, of course. But yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about the show. So, before I talk about that though, Shah, I want to bring this up. Brett Lauderdale, the owner of GCW, got into a little bit of a back and forth with Al Snow on social media because, and I have to give Brett, what Brett said was not incorrect here, B. I don't know if you saw it, but it was established on the show how much money these people lose. And they lose about $30,000 a month, if I'm not mistaken, right, B? Does that sound right?
I think so. Because I think he's the money guy, the sports host, said they were in for like 160 grand or
180
something like that.
they've lost at that point. So they average losing 30 grand a month. And Brett, unprovoked, from my understanding, threw a shot at that on Twitter, and then him and Al Snow got into a very legitimate back and forth about it. So I did think that was a little weird of Brett to do, but at the same token, I think people were trying to I understood maybe why he felt like he had to say something, because technically speaking, GCW is the biggest independent wrestling company in the. I mean, would we all agree? They are, right?
Well, I've known Brett for a long time, and he's very outspoken, man. I don't think he has any personal issues with Al Snow. He's been outspoken about a lot of different companies. So I don't think there's anything personal behind it or any reason why he took that shot. It's just that's just how he moves. That's how he is. He talked about CZW for years. He talked about ICW. I mean, he's talked about everybody. Yeah. So
yeah. Did you happen to see that? I know you didn't see it, Shah, but B, did you happen to notice that on Twitter?
No, I've been staying off Twitter a little bit unless I share stuff here or there, like other people's stuff. Just the Twitter drama just always seems like rage baiting. And look, maybe if he's jealous, he has a right to be. Because
because they're getting that. Yeah, exactly. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you're absolutely right. That's what I was
It's all
thinking,
right.
though.
I was gonna say OVW. No one's really talked about OVW in years since Cornette wasn't associated with it anymore. Al Snow used to run a gym in Lima because he's from Lima, not too far from me. And after he closed, I think it was Body Slammers, he bought into OVW, and you haven't heard anything about it.
Nothing.
So for Brett Lauderdale, who's been a successful promoter, who's had ties to AEW, which is the number 2 they mentioned several times, I could see him being kind of, have his ass chapped about it because he's working hard. And he's, if you think about the people that are there right now, who's that? Bad Boy Joey Janela is still there.
Well, he owns it, right? Shah, is that kayfabe? Joey doesn't own any part of GCW?
No, not at all.
Okay, I thought he might have.
No, it's just Brett.
Okay.
But I mean, Brett's got ties to everybody, man. I mean, he took pictures with Stephanie backstage at WrestleMania. So I mean, he's got ties.
No, he did.
WWE.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Well, their AEW relationship is long dead. Like that's not happening.
I mean, I remember 2019. Brett hit me up on a random night, just texted me, and he was like, "Yo, are you free tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have anything to do." And he was like, "Yo, I got an extra ticket to like I don't know, it was a show in it was a WWE show in Jersey. It was a house show, and we got front row tickets for that." Jeez. And I met up with him, and it was just him and I, and we went there. So I mean, he's definitely got like some ties to WWE.
Yeah, but but B-Show hit on the head. This is what I was thinking when I saw it. If the if the Mets were in first place and the Yankees were getting all this press because they're the Yankees, if I was on the Mets, I might come out of my face a little bit and be like, we're in first place. I understood what Brett was trying to do. And by the way, what he said was not really wrong. It just seemed a little odd that GCW, who was doing very well by all accounts, not really my cup of tea, but they're doing, and there's a lot of people there that I despise, but they're doing very, very well. To even acknowledge or give a shit, maybe because of the Netflix press, B-Show, because this was getting so much attention, because it's so well received, maybe this was like a defensive position, like, hey, I have the biggest independent fucking wrestling company in America.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to be fair, I think when you run the type of, it's not outlaw, but like I think it's seen as an outlaw type of promotion.
Outlaw Mud Show.
Yeah. Goddamn outlaw fucking Mud Show shit.
Outlaw fucking Mud Show.
I love Jim Cornette.
So great.
But no, I mean, it's seen as an outlaw type of promotion. They do I hate to say garbage wrestling. They do deathmatch wrestling. They do stunt type of shit. They've got
dildo matches.
Yeah, that's what Cleric I think just said in the chat. Like, they're not going to get a Netflix special that is underwritten by the BBC.
No one is doing a dildo match Netflix special.
Right, but that doesn't mean that GCW isn't successful and doesn't have its place. So to see this show, and people, like we mentioned, people from GCW have gone on to, AEW. There's some people there who still have somewhat of a name. I think PCO was still there a little while ago.
And I think he is. PCO is there.
And then to see them focusing on some of the people that you've really never heard of for OVW, it is kind of strange to like not even mention that. But maybe it's because of the company they're in. I don't know.
Show, did he take a shot? Did that owner take a shot at Brett on the TV? He was like, I watched a pay-per-view tonight, a company called blah, blah, blah. And our stuff was better. Was he talking about GC episode 6 or 7? I think it was episode 6.
I remember.
He goes, I watched it called The Rising Tide. He didn't say the company. He said, I paid for a pay-per-view. Kevin, my brother's confirming. Okay, so this might make a little bit more sense, guys. So Shah, because you didn't see it, the principal owner, he didn't say anything negative. This is what he said, and I remember it verbatim. He goes, I watched another company's pay-per-view tonight called Bound for Glory, or whatever the if it was GCW. And he goes, and I have to say, our show is better. Our show, actually, we have a better show. Now, not exactly throwing GCW under the bus, but what is he supposed to say? I watched GCW tonight, and man, we suck compared to GCW. You know what I mean, Shah? Like, I don't think that was worth Brett's response.
Yeah, but why even bring that up then? You know what I mean? Like, as the owner of OVW, if you watch this show that's much more successful than yours, why even bring it up on the show?
Yeah, that's true. Well,
because it's delusional to pretend like you're putting out a better product. Because if you were, like, not to suck GCW's dick, because I don't have any ties to them at all anymore. No. But they've gone viral a million times, from David Arquette to fucking Zandig jumping off the building to Joey Ryan getting butt naked and doing a moonsault. I mean, you name it. They've been on TMZ a million times. So, I mean, it's hard to say like he doesn't know what he's doing, because clearly the guy was a fucking fan front row, and now he's running the most successful indie company out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of probably jealousy going on. Same thing with a lot of other indie promoters. They're jealous of Brett. There's a lot of people that hate him. I mean, I haven't talked to Brett in years now, you know. But I didn't play my cards right. I take accountability for that. Like, I could have been up there.
Oh, yeah, you could have. That could have been.
I didn't play my cards right because I associated myself with certain people, and I worked with companies that were direct competition of GCW because I saw myself as an independent person. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, you don't. But, you know, I can see how that brushed them off the wrong way. If I'm, you know, on a CZW poster, you know what I mean? If I'm doing a CZW poster and then next week I'm doing the GCW poster. Right. So a lot of that, I think rubbed them the wrong way. Me being friends with J-Cat definitely didn't help.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Which is funny because J-Cat actually just blocked me, which is hilarious.
Oh my God, I didn't know.
A whole nother thing.
Jesus Christ. Kevin Castle brings up the stark point here, and I tend this to Shah offline. GCW, whatever pay-per-view this was, that got 5,000 buys on Fight, and OVW got 74. Like, legitimately 74. B-show. I mean, that kind of broke my heart when they said that.
I was just gonna say heartbreaking. There's the dude, and it's funny because the guy who does like the announcing, and he's the gopher.
I like the very personable guy. Seems like a very good dude.
Yeah. I remember he reminds me of a friend of mine that runs a wrestling show, and he's sitting on the Zoom call talking to his wife. He's like, all right, I got to go check this out to see what the pay-per-view buys are. He's like, how many? We needed to do 500. And they're like, 75.
Yeah.
So,
and heartbreaking.
And to give some context too, they weren't sitting around just going, oh, fuck these other companies or GCW
no, not
sucks.
At all.
They were sitting in a meeting and trying to figure out like how to increase interest,
how to be better. Yeah. How to be
and
better.
the guy who's the owner, who is like a traditional wrestling fan from way back, he wasn't like, oh, these guys fucking sucked. He was just like, I checked out an indie show. It was on pay-per-view. They got 5,000 buys. I don't know why we can't get it, because our show was better than theirs.
Exactly.
He said our production value is better. We have good athletes. It wasn't so much putting them down, although it did. It was more or less like, I feel like we do a better job than they do and have a better presentation. We have angles and storylines and production value. Like, if they can get 5,000, why can't we?
Yeah.
So
that's literally what he said, Shah. He didn't say anything else. And I think that's what Brett was reacting to very, very sort of, he chose violence that day, Brett.
Well, I mean, again, I haven't seen this show, so I can't really comment too much on it, but it sounds like the guy is kind of out of touch with what the wrestling fans want nowadays. Because if he thinks that he's putting out a better product because of storylines and stuff like that, indie companies, man, that's not really what people are focusing on. You look at indie companies, they want to see the crazy matches, they want to see death matches, they want to see crazy spots, they want to see fucking Effie stick a dildo up fucking Joey Janela's ass. Like, that's
jerking off in the ring. They love it.
Yeah, that's the things that are, I mean, I'm not saying that's the best content that's out there, but that's what's going viral. That's what this new generation of new fans want. This is the AEW crowd, whatever you want to call them. That's what they like. You know what I mean? There's a reason why all these GCW videos, you type in GCW, they got thousands and thousands of hits.
Oh, yeah. They got Matt Cardona. Everywhere. They have a lot going for them. And listen, I'm just talking about from the standpoint of watching the TV show. I don't see how anyone can watch that show, B-show, and not go, this was fantastic. And this should, if this doesn't help that company, which my brother has already pointed out in the chat, it absolutely has. They've already, now they sell out their weekly shows.
Yeah, and not just to fucking ruin anything for anybody, but it's mostly the story of it's almost ECW-ish in a way, where
very ECW,
like all these misfits or ragtag people like trying to make it, or veterans who aren't. Yeah. Oh my God!
Are you saying GCW like ECW?
No, the show.
No, the show.
OVW.
And I'm not saying.
I would argue that GCW is the ECW of today. Really,
they are. I just meant in the spirit of, it's these ragtag people, a bunch of which probably aren't going to hit on the big time. Some have been around a long time, and they're just trying to like make this work, and it may fail, and they're all going to have to find something else to do. Most of them are working day jobs trying to like fix their habit. And that's the whole point of it is shit. Sometimes we draw 300 people, but sometimes there's 20 people here. Like we need to build this. And then by the end of the show, they're packing the house. It's really cool.
Yeah, Shah, I really think I'm telling you, I think you would really get into it. And plus, I got to tell you, man, if that was me and I knew my picture was in this TV show on Netflix, which is watched by like fucking a gajillion people, I'd be watching that shit on a reel every fucking hour of the day.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I had no idea it was
shout
on
out to Dirk.
Netflix. I really had no idea.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Shout out to Dirk. And I feel like somebody else just joined in the chat, so I want to try to keep up with everybody.
Yeah,
But
shout out to Dirk because that's who told me about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Digital Lizard point this out. OVW isn't a developmental. It's just a local territory where GCW is literally a touring brand.
And
so it's not really fair to compare those two things.
And real quick, just to kind of, bring a different perspective on the whole thing from somebody that was around Brett in the early days. I remember when, like, he's different, man. Like, he's one of those guys, like, he reminds me of like a Paul Heyman because, like, he's a guy that gets the most he can out of somebody that you wouldn't expect it. Like, when Paul Heyman brought in Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton and shit to ECW, people were like, how the hell how? Right, yeah. Why is Sabu and fucking Arn Anderson in the ring?
Sabu fighting Tully Blanchard.
Yeah, like, why is this happening? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And then later on, you found out it's favor for favor, and they owed him, whatever the case was. But he took advantage of situations, and he knew where to place himself and get the best out of situations. Brett is the same way. I remember, like, their second or third show, he realized, okay, like, just doing death matches is not going to work. Like, I'm going to have to bring in some guys. He brought in Scott Hall, right? Brought in Scott Hall, and Scott Hall smashed light tubes over Joey Janela's head or somebody. I forgot who it was. But that was, like, the first piece that kind of went viral after the Zandig thing. How did he get that? I don't know, but I'm assuming he had Maria Manic around him the whole day. You know what I mean? Because that's who managed Scott Hall to the ring.
Oh, that's
I'm thinking
right.
like, yo, maybe they knew Scott Hall. This was like a selling point for him.
People went crazy too. Yeah,
he's smart. He's smart like that. You know what I mean? To know like, yo, if I put him next to this good-looking blonde girl, chances are he might be a lot more open-minded to doing a light tube spot than versus if I'm like, yo, come out to the NWO music. You know what I mean? So he knows what he's doing, man.
Well, I think Shah, I hope you check it out, Shah. Seriously, that's going to give you such a fucking charge watching your shit and seeing how much it's in the show. And also, I want to point this out. And B-Show, I know you're going to back me when I say this. I don't know a lot about her, and there's been some stories about her this week that were very unflattering about some shit she did. But that girl, Haley J, Hollywood Haley J, if you looks like a can't miss star. I mean, I don't know. And Shira, Shira, who unfortunately, had some shots in Impact, was doing very well. Went to development WWE, did not do well. But to me, like, I don't know, B-Show. My big takeaway was that girl's going to be a fucking star.
Yeah, and that's a weird thing. Like, I'm not in the wrestling business or anything, but you watch it long enough, and if you're around like athletes, sometimes like you can tell like the way people move, the way they carry themselves, just the effortless nature of when they're in a situation, like how they react. She's natural in that sense. Watching her communicate and do things in matches that other people aren't doing, and she's only had 3 years in the business.
Yeah.
And the way you can see that just she internalizes and it just comes out like she knows the business, like she gets it. And there's a lot of people like Al Snow preaches this, on the show. He's like, don't just do the moves. You got to wait. You got to like do the move and then wait. Sell the moment and let it bleed or let it breathe and then go into the next thing. And she's like giving the same type of advice to people that have been there for 6-7 years. And she's in it like 3 years.
3 years.
So yeah, she definitely seems like a prodigy, but she's got a lot of problems.
Yeah. She's she to me, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a wrestling promoter, but I smell star quality off that girl. She's got a good look. She's good looking enough. I'd like to see more of her in the ring physically to get that vibe, but talking, believability, attitude, looks, you throw WWE will throw some big boobs in her and this girl's going to fucking light the goddamn world on fire. Honestly, like, you know what I mean? But my brother's right. She's got to dump the fucking boyfriend who is like trash beyond trash. My God, absolute trash.
Yeah.
But we wanted to move on